is Mark Mason, and I am 19 years old. And my dream is to become the best possible football player I can be.
Well, a great many black people who are talented in music and in other forms of theater, as well as a couple of professional sports, most notably football and basketball, have gravitated in those areas and have gone to school and effectively selected football or some other sport as their major field of study. And the money is enormous. And it's almost like a kind of a new form of slavery where these athletes put themselves out on the block and allow a whole new type of owner to buy their services. And the difference is that they are remunerated for the services that they provide because the owner of those services is greatly rewarded in the money that they make in selling tickets and commercials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And therefore, we don't tend to look at it as slavery. But basically, it's the same thing.
Ready, set. Hey, baby, anticipate. Protection! Let's go. What's the protection? Bullshit! 72! Man! Hit! Boom! Better!
He made you do squats with that hurt hip.
That last call,
took it extra long. Hit!
Somebody goes down.
Shut it up! One!
Is that sports is an industry, and every industry has three levels of people. You have your owners, your managers, and your workers. In American sports, the blacks that are in the industry are concentrated in the lowest, most expendable level, and that is the worker level. There are very, very few blacks who are coaches and managers, and no blacks that I know of who is an owner of any team where blacks play.
Blacks have and have had their greatest success in sports and entertainment. Among other things, they developed a new form of music called jazz.
Do it.
Everybody! Come on!
Baby.
And blacks are still very important in the entertainment world. Because he's an athlete, Mark gets free room and board, books and tuition at the university, something that Mark's parents would never have been able to afford. But since he's a good football player, he's gotten a scholarship to go and play football at a large university. But does he really feel that he's being used because he's gotten a scholarship?
In a way, I can say that a lot of athletes are used just for the money, but there's a lot of sports, such as track and tennis and golf. They're student athletes too, but there's not a revenue sport. So you can say we're getting used, but we're not being used because we can use them for the education they provide. It's just a free education. It's 4 or 5 year education. So we're both getting, what we want out of this.
So if you're good at the most popular sport in the U.S., it's very much a give and take. American football is played almost exclusively in the U.S., but the best team is considered champion of the world. 2 teams play, and the idea is to get the ball behind the other team's goal line. You can carry, throw, or kick the ball, and it's a tough physical game. The center passes the ball between his legs to the quarterback, and the game is on the way. The quarterback then passes the ball to someone, often a running back, and Mark is a running back.
Very good.
Every team has many coaches, and some of them go out to schools to find new talent. Mark tells us about it.
There was a lot of schools that were interested in what I do on the football field, and they wanted me to come perform for them on their football team. And so it was down to like three other universities that really wanted me. It was the University of Maryland, Wake Forest University, and West Virginia University. And the coaches came up. I went on visits to talk to them, and see how I like their facilities and everything. This workout was basically for football players. I'm a football player. We try to build on a muscle mass and speed and quickness by doing these different exercises around the room. And the better, the bigger and stronger you are, enables you to win and win big. So that's what we try to do every day.
Was he talented?
Yes, he's a very talented youngster, and he was only a freshman. And it's sort of unusual for a freshman to come in and play with the impact that he did last season, especially towards the tail end of the season. He seemed to get better as he went along, but he's got good instinct as a runner. There's some things that runners do that you think you coach, but you don't. And then he runs very well. He got great speed, and those are generally physical attributes that you can't give to a young man. He's gifted, or those are talents that the good Lord has given him.
Not bad. Just throwing the ball, get him to stay right there, Mark. Stay right there. He's gonna stay right there.
Football takes up most of his time, but Mark also studies economics, mathematics, and other subjects. And the large M does not stand for Mark, as he jokingly says, but for Maryland, which is the name of the university and the state. The large university campus is like a whole town. 34,000 people work or study here. Most students come during the day to go to lectures, but 8,000 students live on the campus like Mark does. One reason for the popularity of the University of Maryland is its fantastic facilities for sports, but it is also known for its arts and sciences. The little store is a meeting place for students, and if you're broke, you can work for an hour and get a free lunch. And if you need to let off steam, that's fine too.
Hey, now that's good shooting, stranger.
It used to be a university for whites only, but now there are students from many ethnic groups. The university has its own bus system that takes students around the campus, and even its own police.
And the response of many white parents was to move white students out of...
One of Mark's subjects is Afro-American history. He thinks it's important to know about your background, and he feels proud of it.
More complicated and complex. Theoretically, who could argue with such a supposition? And that is, the Civil Rights Movement said, we can be proud of being Black Americans, Asian Americans, Native Americans, Hispanic Americans, white ethnic group Americans, without compromising being good Americans.
That subject didn't exist when Dr. Marcia Darling went to school. You can't get away from your background, she says. And back then, blacks were taught to identify with slaves.
I remember several years ago, I was teaching a large class, and I began the semester by saying that I didn't believe in the melting pot, that I believe that it is a naive way of referring to things that don't melt down. That what I wanted to offer instead was the idea of a salad bowl. That cauliflower and pepper and onions are not the same. You cannot make them the same. However, you can put them in a salad and have them blend well. They taste wonderful together.
To be an American is to have two identities. First of all, you're an American. But soon people start talking about their ancestors who came from Scandinavia, Germany, Poland, England, etc. All these millions of people who left the old world to find freedom and happiness in the new world. They wanted religious freedom, freedom from poverty and ruling kings. They were strong individuals who wanted a place where everyone was equal and had the same opportunities and rights. In a book by Wilhelm Moberg, Karl Oskar, the emigrant, writes back to Sweden in the 1800s. I'm now used to total freedom. You see, the difference between the old and the new world is great. Every man here is a citizen with one voice, whether he's rich or poor. But how would it be possible to govern the new country and at the same time keep that personal freedom? The answer was to divide the power. The president would have the power to carry things out. Laws were made by the Congress. And the Supreme Court would have the judicial power. In the American Constitution, which describes how the power should be divided, there's also the Bill of Rights. It's a law of human rights, where, for instance, freedom of religion, speech, press, and the right to carry a weapon is written. Yet this freedom existed side by side with slavery, with the idea that Indians were savages, and that neither poor people nor women had the right to vote. What were the people like in this new country? Fredrika Bremer wrote a book about her travels in the U.S. in the 1850s. She describes the American like this.
He's a young man who walks into this world full of trust in his own strength, who startles at nothing, fears nothing, finds nothing impossible, believes in everything.
People like this built the world's richest and most powerful state. What are they like today?
I think that America started out as a country that took pride in the fact that it had what is called the Protestant ethic. And the Protestant ethic, loosely translated, comes out to being a postponement of immediate gratification. That it was important for people to wait. That wait was not an ugly, vulgar, four-letter word. That it was something that it was essential. That it was, you waited till a certain time before you married and started involving yourselves in romantic relationships, because from that would normally generate offspring, and with offspring comes the responsibility of caretaking, et cetera, et cetera. You would wait and go to high school and go to college and then go to graduate school, and then you would marry and buy a house and start a family and try and earn your way in society. You didn't try and do it overnight, immediately. And as a result, the values of our society that reinforced that sense that postponement was something that was worthwhile, that you enjoyed what you achieved when you accomplished it, because you realized the periods of sacrifice and suffering that went to it. Now, in our society, we celebrate the idea that why wait? Why not have it right now? I mean, if it's there, take advantage of it. And of course, one of the reasons why the drug culture has been so flourishing in our society, because the amount of money that can be generated from the sale of illegal drugs, particularly in the black community, allows kids to leapfrog over those stages. I mean, at 16 years old, you can earn the kind of money that people who are 60 years do not earn. And you can buy those kinds of things. You can purchase your way into that fantasy world overnight, practically. I had a student come to me not long ago who was 15 years old. He was making $2,800 a month for making one drug drop-off. One. $2,800 a month. He was in the 9th grade. And I said, well, son, next year you're going to be 16. What do you plan to do? And he said, I'm going to quit school and I'm going to do this full time. And that way I'll make more money. And I said, yeah, but in the course of making more money, you could die, you could get killed. And he looked at me like, so what? And I said, well, you know, what could I mean, there's no, here's a kid who's not afraid to die. He's not afraid of the law. He's not afraid of the police. He's not afraid of school. He's not afraid of his parents. He's not afraid of the stigma of being a school dropout. He's not afraid of having a girl pregnant and therefore people calling him irresponsible and neglectful. So when you don't have any of those kinds of fears, it's very difficult for you to make yourself susceptible to some kind of social control.
A school day may start like this for many students in inner-city schools. A teacher with a metal detector makes sure that no one is armed when they come to school. It's easy to get a gun. Older friends can just buy one in a store that sells guns. To be in certain gangs, you have to show your courage and maybe even shoot at people. The standards at schools in the U.S. vary a great deal. In some places, half the students never finish school, and many of them can't read or write. There is certainly a need for an educational revolution during the 1990s. The passenger boats on the Mississippi River look just like they did 100 years ago. And the music played on the boats was jazz.
I'm so glad.
The basis of jazz is rhythmic African music mixed with spiritual church songs. And songs sung during the hard work on the cotton fields.
I'm so glad trouble don't last always. Oh my Lord, what shall I do?
After the Civil War in 1865, many soldiers bought horn instruments cheaply and put together brass bands. At night they played in all kinds of clubs, where there were lots of beauties to look at. It was here in New Orleans that jazz was born, and it's still a center for jazz with all its clubs and festivals. To walk around here is to be brought back 100 years in time. Back then, jazz used to be played at funerals too. After the deceased had been laid to rest, happy music was played in his memory. One of the most popular jazz bands in the early 1900s was the Creole Jazz Band, One of its members was Louis Armstrong, often called Satchmo, maybe the best known and best loved jazz musician.
Yes, what good is sitting alone?
The real breakthrough for jazz came in the 20s. Through a new invention, the gramophone record, it spread across the whole world.
Life is a gamble.
New musicians learn by listening to older players, copying their styles, and then developing their own ways of playing. It's obvious that Mark is popular. When he comes home, young boys yell, "Hi, Marky." Mark's mother is divorced, and she lives together with Mark's older sister, who has a 5-year-old boy.
Mom. Mom.
It's clear that today is a special day.
I was gonna come, but
Happy birthday,
No,
I'm
an
afterthought. You guys play on your butt, Marcus.
I would try to help out the little kids in my neighborhood and say, you can get the same thing, you know. Just keep your head out of trouble, you know, stay clean. And I would show all the people who said that Mark Mason couldn't make it, that I can make it. I got my degree, do you have yours? If I become a professional, I will hope to stay in the business a long time just to earn some money, just to start a little store or something for me, hopefully to have a family, have a nice house, nice car, you know, and still hold that role of being a role model. You know, this is what I earned from my degree and my hard work.
Mark and his friends have practiced hard, and they're ready to play.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
American football is an important part of American culture. The whole university is here. The bands play, and the cheerleaders warm up thousands of people in the stands. And then they're out on the field, the heroes of the university. It's exciting, a party and a show. Millions of people go to see American football matches, Even more watch them on TV. The money, of course, is important. At the University of Maryland, football pays for the cost of all the other sports.
What's the best thing in the American society?
That you're free to do anything. I mean, not anything, but if you want to do something, then there's no law to permit it unless there's a violent crime, such as killing somebody. But if you want to, boycott against the government, you can. You wouldn't get arrested. It's freedom of speech. You have the right to bear arms, all kinds of rights that permit you to do such things. As of other countries that I read of and what I study, they don't get those rights.
The promised land of freedom. But, according to Professor Smith, it's not that easy to describe American culture.
I mean, I often remember back in 1969, when the men landed on the moon. That was the exact same month, July of '69, that the My Lai massacre occurred in Vietnam. And I was asking one of my students, I said, which one of those events, the My Lai massacre of innocent women and children in Vietnam or the landing on the moon, best reflects the character of American culture? And the students were confused. And I said, you're proper to be confused because both are a reflection of American culture. We are as heroic as those guys walking on the moon, and we are as bestial as those people killing innocent women and children in Vietnam. So that's the part of our dual nature, both as people as well as a culture, that you have to live with.